Hey guys, it's Matthew from Sling Pilot Academy. Today I'm here with co-CEO Matt, and with some of the recent developments at our local airports, some of the pilots around here have been asking, why should I be flying friendly? Why should I do any of this stuff? It's not legally mandated. So today we're going to cover the 5 reasons why you should join the Fly Friendly movement. Stay tuned to find out. So to get started, what is the Fly Friendly movement?
Primarily a voluntary movement and voluntary procedures that are in place at various airports across the country that are designed to make aviation more compatible with the communities that surround airports.
And then what was the reason that this whole fly-friendly movement started?
There has been more interest in fly-friendly procedures of late because there's been a recent uptick in flight training activity across California, across Arizona, across Florida, all across the United States. There's been an increase in flight training activity in response to the pilot shortage, and that has made it more necessary to engage in fly-friendly procedures and activities.
Would you say that people kind of starting to work from home a little bit more during the COVID era changed how many reports of noise there was?
Yeah, 100%. As the uptick in flight training activity began, people were at home with stay-at-home orders due to COVID. So for a lot of people, they experienced aviation for the first time in terms of flight training activity coming out of an airport near them.
For those pilots who are out there that are kind of questioning, maybe they're not part of a school, they're an independent person that has their own plane in a hangar, why should they be caring about this? Because as we both know, legally they don't have to do it. What's the reason that they should?
Most pilots are not aware of the current level of noise from the neighborhoods around airports related to this uptick in aviation activity that's occurring right now. The level of political pressure that is being imposed on city councils and HOAs by their members, etc., is actually having an effect and is causing reverberations into city governments and beyond. So the problem is becoming a problem.
For some of these pilots that we were talking about that have their own planes, they've been flying by themselves. Maybe they've been flying since the 70s when, as we both know as well, there was more flight training or there was more aviation in general at this airport than there is now. How do you think that maybe changes the way they feel about joining the fly-friendly part?
When traffic was at double the volume in the 70s and 80s here at Torrance, for example, this issue was an issue back then as well. Now, of course, we have half the volume of traffic, but this issue of general aviation and resident communities coming into conflict with each other is a repeating occurrence that happens every 10, 15 years. And so this isn't the first time this has happened at all.
All right, so before we get into the 5 reasons why people should do it, can we get a little bit more into what fly friendly is? What does that mean?
Fly friendly in the most general sense is a voluntary effort by pilots to fly in such a way that they have the least negative impacts on communities around airports. Some airports actually have formal fly friendly programs, which are programs that are normally run by the city or the county or whoever operates the airport, that are designed to track metrics of different operators, different categories, curfews, flying in certain times of the day. Sometimes it relates to keeping the traffic pattern close to the airport or doing departures and arrivals over uncongested areas. Following a formal fly-friendly program would result in operators getting feedback from the airport or the governing body and having metrics to look at every month to make sure that they can be more compliant with a voluntary fly-friendly program.
So how does that relate to the Fly Friendly SoCal website, what we were just talking about?
Yeah, so it can be really tricky for pilots to find fly-friendly procedures for different airports. If you're flying across country or you're going to divert to an airport that wasn't in your plan, it can be really tricky to understand what the fly-friendly procedures are. A lot of them don't appear in any legible way in any FAA publications. So normally you would have to get on Google and search the airport website and click a few times until you find what you're looking for. And honestly, it's prohibitively difficult for pilots to try to understand the fly-friendly procedures around different airports. We are proud members of the Fly Friendly SoCal group, which is a website that allows operators and pilots to go to the website and just with one click on any airport they want to fly to in the Southern California region and find the fly-friendly procedures for that airport.
It's making it easier for pilots to do the right thing and help the community out at the same time.
Exactly. It's no longer a daunting and difficult task of research to find out about fly-friendly procedures. Just one click and you can have all the understanding you need.
All right, so now that we've talked a little bit about what it is, let's get to our list of the 5 reasons why you should be a part of it.
Number 1, and you're not going to like it, but because it's the right thing to do. If we can engage in our passion and our love of aviation while having the least impact on surrounding communities, why would we not do it?
In trying to be neighborly, a lot of people's initial reaction is to just fly off to the nearest airport and go do all their flying there. The problem is, if they're not flying neighborly at that airport, they could be causing just as many problems. So reason number 2 is going to be to coexist with the communities around us. It's a regional issue.
It's easy for a pilot who's not interested in fly-friendly procedures to go to a neighborhood airport or an airport in the region and fly in such a way as to cause a lot of negative complaints. So it's really important that we don't just focus on the airport that we operate out of, but focus on all the airports that we operate out of in the region.
And yeah, as you mentioned before, these procedures aren't always in the AFD. They're not always published. So somebody might not even be maliciously not following those fly-friendly rules. They just might not know about them. And that's kind of what we're going for here, is trying to get people to know that information.
Point number 3, to highlight the positive elements of aviation, we have to mitigate the negative elements. What most people don't recognize is how critical aviation is to our civilization, from next day delivery to life-saving organ delivery, being able to visit our relatives that live far away. Aviation brings us all together and allows us to live this quality of life that we enjoy today.
Reason number 4, and that's going to be for the future of aviation. Not only do we want to create a better relationship between aviation and the community for flight training and for getting people into the aviation that we have now, but also we want to prepare for things that are coming, like eVTOL. If we don't have a good relationship going into that, it's going to get even worse going forward. As people in the aviation industry, if we can help make that transition smoother, it's just going to mean that in the future, communities and airports can work together better.
And finally, probably the most significant point for all of this, point number 5, to keep airports open. If so many airports weren't under threat right now, there would be far less urgency to engage in these fly-friendly activities. The land that airports are built on has gotten more and more valuable over the decades. Many airports occupy 500 acres of prime real estate that's worth billions of dollars. And so the whole fly-friendly movement is for this coexisting between communities and airports, but the ultimate goal is to keep airports open and to keep aviation thriving in the communities that we live in.
If the land is taken over, that is going to be taken over by high density housing. There's going to be a lot more traffic, there's going to be a lot more noise, and sure, it might not be planes, but it'll definitely affect the community just as much, if not more. On top of that, if they're taking away airports in the general communities, that's stopping flight training, that's slowing pilots, and that's exacerbating the shortage that's already here, which is going to mean less travel, more expensive flights, and less 2-day deliveries. It's going to become expensive, it's going to become more scarce because we don't have the new pilots coming in anymore to do it. So if you're in the community and you think shutting down the airport is a pro, you're going to feel the effects later. Just for clarification for people in the community, what are some reasons that a pilot might not follow a fly-friendly procedure?
Pilots are dealing with a very dynamic situation every time they go flying. There's airspace, there's the weather conditions, there's wind, other airplanes that are in the traffic pattern or nearby the airport, directives from air traffic control which are contrary to the voluntary noise abatement procedures at certain times. And so a pilot is constantly balancing all of these factors when steering their airplane around the skies. The pilot has always got to fly their airplane according to the safety best practices and according to the pilot's operating handbook, regardless of any fly-friendly procedures. Air traffic control may say, turn left 20 degrees for traffic. And at that point, the pilot should immediately comply with the directive.
And they're legally obligated to follow those directives, right?
Yeah, a pilot should immediately follow a directive like that from air traffic control. Otherwise, they could cause a hazard or an accident. So there's no option there. You must immediately comply. And even pilots that try their best, sometimes because of the dynamic circumstances, will not be able to follow a voluntary noise abatement procedure.
In conclusion, pilots and people in the community both need to do their part so that we can coexist with each other.
What often is the case at airports is that the flights that trigger the most complaints and trigger the noise monitors are airplanes from other airports. And we see this time and time again at airports, that one airplane comes through and flies through an area where most of the local airplanes don't fly, and suddenly a whole slew of complaints is triggered. And then people complain about every other flight after that. So it just takes one person flying one airplane at an airport they're unfamiliar with to cause a whole lot of trouble for the tenants at that airport.
So for those people that are watching this, what's the next step?
Yeah, so we invite all pilots and operators to do what we have done and to go to flyfriendlysocal.com, take the pledge. There's a button there to take the pledge and sign up as a Fly Friendly operator or pilot. So together we can all work towards getting that harmony that we need between the airports and the airport operators and the communities, so that we can coexist and operate in harmony with our surrounding communities. Did we get it all, Matt? Good interview. Thank you. Did we get it all?
Yeah.